welcome back. We are here for the Between Darkened Mirrors, episode 27, the end, part 2 of our mastermind threat, which, in this case, is The Great Show by Titania. And the hunters have made it to Titania's house, and she has given them quite the surprise about who her featured and guests of honor are. So it seems that she has control over Melody and Radamintha and has Queen Victoria and Lord James Campbell Hughes in custody. And there will be nefarious means afoot at 3 a.m. in the morning when she enacts a ceremony that will spill their blood and will break down the barriers between dimensions, bringing about her revenge by letting nightmares invade our world. So, it's a race for Hargrave House. The question that you have to answer for this threat to be resolved is, where is Titania going to hold this sacrifice ceremony to bring about the worlds together and the nightmares to bear? Okay, so you resolve the threat by discovering where she will do this blood sacrifice, and you need to thwart her plan, however you decide to do so, okay? You currently have 3 clues on the board for complexity 4. Of course, you don't have to stop at 4, all the bonuses, you know how this works. But the clues found so far are severely disfigured human handprints, a cape of autumnal leaves, and a train of spring petals on an ebony figure, okay? So, I have a couple of people's moves to resolve from last time, and then a complication to give to Victor. So I'm going to start with Whitmore. Whitmore, I'm resolving your 10 for the night move for trying to deal with Richard Dade, who looked like he was getting agitated enough that he was going to attack you with something that he had on his person. Can you tell me how you did ask him for a commission? Like you were going to commission him to do a piece of work of one of Titania's servants, Cobweb, but he was agitated by something else. Can you tell me again how you plan on calming him down?
The plan was, since he's behaving like a man from an insane asylum, Whitmore was going to wrap him in a hug, sort of straitjacket style,
Hmm.
prevent him from being able to move, getting very close and whispering in his ear about calming down and maintaining himself.
And with that 10, excuse me, with that 10, you have narrative control. Tell me what he does as you wrap yourself around him, but not in a constrictive mode, but as someone who perhaps can relate in some way. What do you say to him? What is your grasp like to get him to calm down?
At first, I think Whitmore's grasp is a little too tight. That sort of, I need to stop you from hurting yourself or me. But I think as the first sob leaves Richard's mouth, Whitmore loosens up, and it's two proud men hugging in this portrait gallery, surrounded by his work. Whitmore would just whisper, I know I've been asked to do impossible things from a master, from a patron that did not care how or if I could succeed. Richard, your artwork is beautiful regardless of who has demanded that you create it. But beauty and the commands that you've been given are no reason to lose. And Whitmore would slowly back out of the hug and just tap him lightly on the chest above his heart. Yourself.
And he collapses, as you say. I think he starts to sob. He's crying in his paint-stained, dirty hands. And I think you will hear light steps approach. And when you look up, it's actually Melody. She looks quite solemn in her cloak of winter melancholy. But there's something about her that seems odd, as she's wearing this cloak and seems rather calm for being taken by, of course, Titania's servants and such. What do you see, Whitmore, that makes you think that the Melody that you know is not altogether here right now?
I think it's got to be in the gait that she keeps. Her normal walking position, the way that her body moves, is very lower class. Very, there's something I should be doing. I will go do it. That always has something that they need to take care of. Even when we've been relaxing at the theater, they've moved looking for a seat. They've moved, Melody's moved looking for a thing to put away. Now, regimental soldier, sort of marching along as if as if she's not used to the body she's walking in.
She doesn't acknowledge you, Whitmore. She will look down and say, now, Mr. Dade. It is time for you to get some rest. The ceremony is approaching in a few hours, and you must be ready to play your part. And then she will kneel down and not lift him, but I mean like kind of like grab him underneath the arms like as if it's nothing, and, you know, scoop him up to walk on his own 2 feet, but kind of like keep an arm around him, and then just kind of bring him around the gallery and, you know, maybe down another hallway or such. She does not look at you, Whitmore.
Whitmore would follow them down this side hallway.
As they're going down the hallway, it's darker and dimmer here, and you see their figures pass, the winter melancholy getting iridescent in the darkness. But then in front of you comes the red shock of hair, lit from underneath by, like, you know, a candle and such, and 2 turned mugs, like, thrust in your face. Ah, Mr. Whitmore, is it? Did you want to take that drink now?
Oh. Robin, was it?
Puck, but, well, you must have found me out, sir. Drink?
Uh, yes, of course I will join you for this drink. And Whitmore will take the mug and look back over his shoulder, trying to determine where Melody and Richard are headed.
You don't see them anymore. The darkness has swallowed them. Yeah. And we're going to cut over to Doc. Doc. You got an 11 for your night move to keep it together. Here in this lab, seeing all those changed people, essentially under glass, like maybe they're in like kind of standing cases, right? And like, you know, they're all in different states of change, whether it be their body or their face, or maybe even just like, you know, certain limbs that have gone through some sort of animalistic or shape change. But you got an 11, so tell me, what is keeping you grounded? What is keeping you from letting this particular sight, as strange and possibly even grotesque as it is, what's keeping you grounded and not responding to changing as well?
I think that the immediate thought is of Hargrave House and being kind of the acting benefactor. Well, Lord James Campbell uses the way. So the first thought is very like taxes and like keeping the house moving, and then that kind of isn't working, and then Doc's mind kind of casts backwards to uh what led him here, which means what led him to London, and then what led him out west, and what led him to, you know, leave his parents' estate in the first place. And I think that, um, as we've seen alluded to in some of the mask scenes that I've narrated, um, trying to get someplace safe and not cause too much hurt to the people around him has been like the constantly foiled theme of Doc's ad adult life at the very least. Um, and so I think the thing that keeps him grounded is responsibility to his latest stable place, wanting to keep it safe, wanting to keep it intact vis-a-vis Lord James Campbell Hughes. Um, and that's that.
Maybe we see reflected in the glass of the casing. Maybe we see like your silhouette shudder and change just a tiny little bit, but then you get yourself under control and then you can see your reflection, your own reflection, the way you are right now. Do you do anything else here in this lab?
I think Doc mumbles a clumsy, unpracticed prayer to himself for these human science experiments. And as someone who's not accustomed to praying, I think it's like very meager, right? It's like the 2 second version of that scene in a movie where a character on their own like makes a deal with God, right? It says like, I know I have to pray to you, but if you do this one thing, then I'll blah blah blah. It's got the kind of ham-fisted energy of that, almost like Doc is embarrassed.
With that 11, I think you regain your peace and you are not accosted, even as you make this little tiny wish for things to go well. You can choose to stay or you can go.
Well, I set out to find Cobweb,
Mm,
because I think that's where Doc still thinks that the thing he can do to help lies. So I think that Doc would continue on.
okay. Go ahead and make an information move to see if you can pick up her scent or however you'd like to try and do that from
Yeah,
here, from this point.
I think it is exactly that. It is trying to pick up her scent and trying to like channel some of the dream that he had when he woke up on
Nice.
his way here. So I definitely want to frame it as something for sensitivity, which I feel
Okay.
like fits.
Yeah,
Uh,
nice.
um, but I'm gonna vamp for a little bit because I realized I forgot to pull up my dice, which is
uh,
fine. It's totally
I
cool.
I mean, maybe that was unconsciously on purpose that I didn't remind you guys to warm up your dice or make love to the dice roller. I sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Um, oh wait, I need to do complex roll. We'll do
Yeah.
2d6 plus 1, 2, 3, and that is a 10.
All right. I think as you're looking around for cobweb, for signs of cobweb, you know, I think you will come upon hidden files. Like it's not apparent at first, but I mean because of the way you're kind of like, feeling out different things. I think next to the case, the the cases. You are touching parts of the wall, and then there's a panel that pops out, and then you see like what looks like not files, but you see like little journals, but you can't quite read them. They all look like they are in some sort of combined language. Some bits are German, some are like scientific symbols, other parts look like they're um, like some kind of runic script or something. I mean, like just a combination of different things. But then among these journals, like, you realize that there's something that looks like it's tied together as if it's trying to keep many different things like all in one place. And you realize it's somehow very small photographs, like sepia photographs of nature. But this is odd nature. What about the trees? This is a paint the scene for you, Doc, strictly. What about the trees or the landscape in these photographs makes you think that this is a twisted, corrupted place? At first glance, it looks like, any normal countryside. But what about that when you take upon a second look that you realize it's a twisted, corrupted landscape?
I think that there are things coming out of the trees, um, which it may like even be something that you can't quite see unless you tilt like the photo at the right angle.
Mm-hmm.
But like on one tree, there is like the outline of a human face, like it's pressing outward. Another part of the tree near one of the top edges has like it seems like maybe just regular old bumps, but if you look close, you realize it's like the tip of a thumb and four fingers pushing out, as though those were the only things that could kind of get past the bark a little bit. Um, things like that.
Okay.
For some reason, I keep imagining one like full sharp tooth sticking out of one of the trees too.
Oh, okay.
So it's yeah, it's
Yeah.
not just human features. They're just like there's
Right.
things, and I think
Things.
even
Yeah.
like if you look away, which I think Doc does, he sees that, goes, oh, maybe like looks around because this is all so strange. It looks back and you see different things in the trees every time you're looking at the photo.
Okay.
So like, oh, I can't find that face anymore. Oh, there's a full tooth from an animal.
Yeah. That is your clue for the 10. A collection of photos of eerie, twisted nature. I think also, in addition to that panel, you find that you have opened up a door, again in the wall, not fully apparent, from first look in this place, and it looks like how like in certain movies they kind of like show you the panel that kind of slides out, and then you can kind of get into the, I forget what they call them, like the innards of the house, like passageways built
Mm,
into this house.
like a Scooby-Doo secret passage.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, but right, but you can tell like there's been like inner hallways like built into the house, and this is one of them. Could lead to cobweb. You're getting that scent again in your nostrils.
Yeah, of course I venture into the strange tunnel built within the walls of the house. Nothing's ever gone wrong with that.
Of course. All right, Victor. All right, so you have seen these displays that the King in Shadows has been so nice to show you, even though you wanted more. Um, yeah, I think after his visage like kind of flaps closed and he turns from the curtained archway back into himself, like into darkness that kind of melds backwards into the shadows. Complication, complication. I can't remember if we established this from something else, but does your hunting experience include previous skirmishes with the Fae?
Yes, Victor has alluded that he has fought Faye before. I see was very familiar with Titania. It was like Titania is actually a formidable like being that we have to be wary of.
Oh yeah, you definitely made that quite clear in the beginning once you heard it was her. But just curious whether you would recognize a Fey fighting style.
Um, Probably.
Okay.
Victor wouldn't use it really, but he's definitely there's probably one of his like companions in the past has fought like a Fae.
Yeah, so let's put it where, hmm, you know what? Night move. I think you get just a hint. Just a hint. Maybe like either a whistling weapon, or like just like the movement in the air, or maybe the scent of something, or like, just the tiniest of footfalls. Something will signal you that you're going to be attacked. What could go wrong? What do you think?
Victor would be caught unawares and will be like tied up and trapped somewhere at the mercy of Titania.
I think that how it's worse is that
Mhm.
this person will take great pleasure in taking out an Armstrong,
Mhm.
remembering past, not past trespasses. What am I trying to say? Um, Basically, it's like, we'll recognize, oh shit, an Armstrong. Well, I must
Mhm.
take them out before they take me out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yes, we'll be very fatal about it. Sure.
Mm. Okay.
Okay. Um, so yeah, vitality. Okay, I'll let you argue off like either vitality or si- sensitivity. But doesn't the legacy, like, have it automatically be? It's like, anything with.
Yeah, anything I fight with in combat, it's always vitality.
Yeah,
Unlike it, yeah.
sure. Okay.
I will, yeah, yeah. I will just roll this straight. Let's do these two. Ooh, that is 10.
I think the way this is approached is that,
Hmm.
pardon, I think, as you are watching the King in Shadows recede in the background, just the slightest whisper of movement, and
Hmm.
then there is a sword,
Yeah.
a face sword that gets buried into the wall, like right next to your ribs.
Hmm.
And, they manage to get it out and it's going to attack again. With
Yeah.
your 10, tell me how you take care of this person when you whirl around. This is a person wearing a full helmet and armor of this iridescent metal. Um, Kind of like the greaves and like the gauntlets, and then like, the breastplate, but again, like full helmet. You can't see their features or their hair underneath it, and they're attacking you with this face sword.
I think they miss slightly just because, I mean, like it's mentioned in comic books like Batman. It's like why do they wear a cape? Why do they do that? It's to like showcase like where a body could be. And for this particular situation, they would have hit, but Victor has that long cloak. And in a shadowy, dark room, it doesn't take much for them to miss. Um, and maybe there is some supernatural instinct where Victor just moves just enough, and this is a capable person, but Victor is like was trained and prepared and wearing the right thing for this sort of situation. So they miss underneath Victor, or to his side, and Victor will quickly turn around. At this point in time, he doesn't have his weapons drawn. So even just that small like second to draw would be almost fatal to him, knowing this is a fey creature, something with like probably like preternatural speed. So he just turns and um it's barely you would barely call it a vulnerable point of this armor because it's very well made Fey design. This only works because Victor's physiology means he has stronger joints and bones than a regular person. He kind of just like puts his like hand together, like into a point, and just to show that it is like his shoulder, this arm was like healed already. He uses that arm to just kind of like push it into like the chink in the armor between the helmet and the torso, and just it's barely a slight opening. There's like bending metal as he forces his hand through this almost small slit, but he feels the like the trachea break as he puts his hand there, and as the person walks back trying to breathe, he just like casually walks up to it and sees if it will fall down, just to know if this is a construct, is this an actual person? Like, what am I dealing with here?
Now, when you say you broke the trachea, like, you is that temporary, or is that like, they can't talk or breathe?
I think as a reaction, they wouldn't. The intent is for them to not be able to talk and or breathe at this point in time.
Hmm.
But Victor's just trying to see like physiology, because how a person goes down is different from how like a supernatural creature may go down.
Yeah, this person will scrabble, like with their gloved hands, they're going to scrabble at their throat, and
Yeah.
then kind of like, because they're choking essentially, and then they're going to fall over. And you can tell me if this is okay or
Hmm.
not,
Yeah.
but I think you realize that underneath the helmet, as the helmet kind of like, goes off to the side, I
Yeah.
think you're going to see, wisps of Radamintha's hair underneath the helmet.
I think Victor walks up to Radamantha, or what could be Radamantha.
Hmm.
Um, can can he take off the helmet?
Yes.
Hmm.
And like, she's clutching at her throat, and then just like, you know, like trying to
Yeah.
get air and, you know, looking at you. But it doesn't look like she recognizes you.
Okay.
There's something about the way she's looking that does not look familiar. Like it looks like her, but there's
Yeah.
something not familiar
Yeah.
about
And I
her.
think I think Victor sees this, and I think he goes down on one knee right next to what looks to be Radamantha's, uh, what looks to be his betrothed. I think he doesn't look as devastated as you would expect a person to be. He just looks like very like sad, disappointed, maybe melancholy is a better way to describe it. And he looks at her and goes, "We both knew that when we started to be each other's, at some point, our enemies may use us against each other. If this is truly you, Radamintha, and you have died by my hand, then we were never meant to be, because my real betrothed would never have been this easy for me to take down. So if you are her, I'm sad that you and I truly, I guess, were not meant to be. But if this is some sort of trick made by the Queen of the Fae, then I hope she knows the kind of things an Armstrong does to someone when they are insulted by them."
I think as you're speaking, there's a bit of a shimmer, and it is not Radamintha. It is as if like, as they're expiring, that yeah, the glamour wears off. and by virtue of the armor, they were able to kind of hold it. But now that the helmet's off, and they are not alive, then yeah, it looks like a Fey woman, but it is, yeah, not Radamintha.
And I think
Same build though, same build, same height, but yeah, not her.
and as like a very much a larger emotion that Victor usually shows, there is a huge sigh of relief. Like you can see like tension visibly leave his body as he real as this is shown. And I think he will just get up, and I think his original goal, if I remember correctly, was to find Queen Victoria.
And as you're thinking about it and remembering why you're here,
Yeah.
yeah, I think like out of the shadows comes Peas Blossom,
Mhm.
and he's looking particularly bulky and big at the moment, and he looks down at the woman's body and gets mad.
Mhm.
She said she liked me.
Hey there,
Killed her.
big guy. Whatever you've been doing, it's been doing you wonders. What is it? Is it some sort of concoction that Queen Titania has given you, or have you just been working out?
Fey PEDs, and he's going to attack you,
Of course.
of course. So, yeah, vitality, because it just has to be fun, like for the
Mhm.
last episode, Vitality. I mean, I don't know if you want to bring anything to bear on this. I mean, like
Mhm.
he's coming at you with his fist, but you don't know if like he's got anything else that he's going to try to do. He's a very violent man.
Yeah. I think um as he runs up to Victor, Victor will kind of um just try to be like he's not really moving from his spot, but he's trying to be like shifty, trying to stay flexible in how he wants to react to whatever Peas Blossom is gonna do. We see a twinkle as you see him wearing brass knuckles in this situation, choosing not to use um the hatchets just because this is like he's been looking forward to this fight and he wants it to last a little longer than
Mhm.
normally it would. I assume it's a night move.
Definitely night move.
Yeah.
What could go wrong? I'm gonna say that like you've
Hmm.
again, the King in Shadows was showing you like a different kind of gallery place, but then you realize it looks like it's one of those big halls, like maybe perhaps a ballroom or something like that
Yeah.
that it could be. So you've got a lot of space, but there's no windows, or what windows there are, heavily curtained, just
Hmm.
no light streaming in, no nothing, and it's basically fighting in the dark.
Yeah. I think what could go wrong here is I don't think this time it's going to come down to Victor being overconfident or anything like that. I
Hmm.
think at this point, Peas Blossom, in whatever way, has been enhanced enough to where there is a chance that he could actually beat Victor. So in this case, I will say that yeah, this is the time when I think it's the different factors. It's too dark. Usually like the biggest thing a hunter really needs for the most part is like knowledge of their prey. Like something like Peace Blossom will just pull something out that Victor wasn't expecting and couldn't
Hmm.
adapt to quick enough, and will just fully Victor will be destroyed by them.
Yeah. I mean, it's highly possible that, he has something that he's going to
Hmm.
pull out later,
Yeah,
especially if it goes wrong or complicated, that,
yeah,
may be deadly or
yeah.
something. So,
All right. And advantage. That's gonna be a 12.
Ah, okay. How appropriate, especially because you're fighting a servant.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, with that 12, you can uh, tell me how you defeat Peas Blossom. I mean, he's bringing everything to bear. He's going to try to crush you like a grape. Maybe he even brings out like something that has like poison on the end of it or something, to try and, poke or stab you with it. And then, but you can tell me how you defeat him, and I will give you a clue for that 12.
All right. Then in that case, I think we see Victor take up a pugilist's kind of stance, very boxer stance, throwing back to the like Shoreditch slugger, all those mysteries ago. And it's just scientific. He runs towards him. Victor kind of gets underneath them and they miss, and he just throws in a couple jabs here and there just to gauge distance. Um, Able to gauge how fast Peas Blossom is, and he's like surprised. Like he's a lot quicker, a lot stronger. Um, Victor will uh it seems like Victor takes a hit because Peas Blossom is too strong, but Victor kind of did a sh like a block instead just to gauge how um strong Peas Blossom has become, just to take in that calculation also. So right now, with the lack of knowledge Victor has, he just needed data first. And with that, he sees how Peas Blossom is moving. And as Peas Blossom like moves in, not un in an unskilled way, just like dashes in with a fighter's like ability. Victor was just one notch higher. He's not as fast as Peas Blossom, but as Peas Blossom rushes in, Victor dashes in at the same time. And as Peas Blossom punches, Victor gets to him first and uses Peas Blossom's momentum to amplify the punch he throws right at his chin. There's a moment where Victor just pushes past him. He stands up, and Peas Blossom just falls to the ground.
Very cool. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I think as Peas Blossom falls to the ground, I mean, and it's very ponderous, right? I mean, like, this man got, again, jacked up, and then as he crumples and falls, it's like you've dropped a big boulder in this space. And I think it will dislodge, like, some of the heavily curtained windows. And when the light streams in, maybe from the moon in this particular place, like you'll see it kind of create this slice of light that goes like down the floor and up the wall. And then you'll see that there's some kind of symbol on the ceiling. Like you'll see the beginning of it. And if you move the curtain a little bit more so more light streams in, the symbol that appears, like, it's like painted, right? It's kind of like, how like a lot of these old homes like had like wallpaper and like, some level of ornateness and such. But where there would be like a chandelier in this spot, there's just this big symbol, and it looks like a tree. Not just a tree that has like, flowing branches from out of the top of it, but also flowing branches on the bottom. So, the roots look like they are also branches, or the branches look like roots. So we can call this clue symbol of the two-ended tree. Okay. And that is your clue. Symbol of the two-ended tree. But no other symbols or designs in this room. Not on the walls, not on the floor. In fact, the floor resembles the tile from downstairs, the black and white checkerboard kind of thing. Yeah. So, just as a reminder, 1, 2, 3, You have 5 clues on the board, and she's got to come up with a theory for where she's planning on holding this ceremony. But we're going to go back to Whitmore at the moment. So yeah, Whitmore, you're taken in hand by Puck, who, has thrust a mug of something in your face as he's leading you away from where you saw Melody and Mr. Dade go down. Are you enjoying yourself, sir?
You Faye certainly know how to throw a lovely party, and Whitmore will attempt to toast the glass. Though there is one thing that would cause me to enjoy this show of yours just a little bit more. Would you be willing to do me one favor? One small favor? A little peek behind the curtain. A moment with Lord James Campbell Hughes before he is used for your performance.
Ah, so you did get the point of the panto.
Yes, the actors were very, very skilled.
Yes. Yes, they were. I don't know. My mistress, she's a bit tetchy. I don't really want to be, spurring her on, I think that would be unwise for my particular health. So I'm gonna have to say no. Nice try, though. It's like, I'm not that drunk, no matter what it seems.
Very fair. I had just hoped to get a few last words in before the end.
Oh, you'll be able to do so. I'm sure.
How do you mean?
I'm sure that there's going to be a merry chase of sorts. I'm sure there's going to be some part of the show where the dramatic end and such, where you would be able to call out to your, do we dare say loved one, and be able to give them those last words, the bolstering before they meet their untidy end.
You really have thought of everything, haven't you?
Of course. Of course. We have to. These things just don't run themselves. You just have to have, some plans in place. As I've been told, some of it I've been able to help with, some of it has just been what I've heard, but you seem like a good sort. Shame it all has to go down the way it does.
It doesn't have to.
Well, I think the only way to avoid it, sir, is if you decide to come on the side of the winning.
I believe I already am.
And he kind of slaps you on the back really hard and says, "Oh, you are so deluded." But I like your enthusiasm.
I bring nothing if not a hint of merriment. And
You've got a bit of the quiet merriment, sir. It's nothing that is like, outright and party made. No.
it has never been my place, Puck, to stand out from the crowd. It has always been to take a back seat and allow other, more grander sorts the spotlight. And that was why I'd asked you to see Lord James Campbell Hughes. For the longest of times, he has been that spotlight. And in his absence, I think I've found something in myself that, dare I say it, was masked by a bolder, more mustachioed personality.
So do you feel that you're coming into your own, sir?
I do, the time spent with Lord James Campbell Hughes and under the servitude of Doc, that mustachioed and now feathered? I think he's becoming feathered.
That one's due for a
Personalities.
few changes, I'm sure.
I
Especially
this
when the good doctor gets a
Mhm.
hold of him. Oops, I didn't mean to say that. Never mind.
The good doctor, and Whitmore will press. Doc is already a
That.
doctor.
Oh, there's a different doctor, but that would be telling. You almost got me. Nice try.
I am not trying anything. I am a simple servant.
Me too. And then he's gonna
Mhm.
bump your mug of ale with his sloshing everything all over the place. Take a hearty drink. It's my own concoction. Quite proud of it. It'll it'll give you hair on your gills, and it'll give you babies when you think of dreaming.
Whitmore will take a swig.
What smells do you taste in this concoction that make you think that this is not ordinary ale?
Pardon the following bit of wordplay, but I think the first sip hits you like a solid puck to the face. It's got floral notes of peas blossom dancing across the nose. And as that slug, that puck of liquid slides down your throat, it almost feels as though it leaves behind a sort of cobweb of, of sticky alcohol down the throat, almost demanding that you take another swig to prevent this from sticking.
As he's watching you drink, it's like the slow smile gets wider and wider on his face. Yeah, let that affect you, sir. If it goes down easy, then it's easier to bear a little more pain.
Pain isn't what we're here for. It's here because we've all put our necks on the line for loved ones. Be it be it a fiance, a good friend, an employer, or simply the love of the companionship that we've built on this journey from Hargrave House. That's what's drawn the three of us here. Your mistress's invitation is simply the catalyst. We would have come regardless.
I'm impressed. But you have to admit, it's like she couldn't necessarily go by chance, right? She had to make sure that you had a little bit more incentive.
Yes, that she did. And the, dare I say, the illusion that she pulled on the back of on the back of that letter, revealing the names only after the invitation had been read. What was that you're doing? Did you have a hand in that illusion, Puck?
Maybe so, maybe no. Who's to say? With a smile that has way too many teeth.
That is a fair point. Who is to say? Though that is why I asked you. You and Cobweb and Peace Blossom, at least from our perspective, seem to be doing all the heavy lifting. Titania's appeared but once or twice in our journey, whereas the three of you appear more frequently as the seasons turn. You've got some hands to play in this whole part, and I think you're dying to let it to let it out. The trickster in you.
Ah, you be trying to give me a little bit of undue influence, sir. Can't let you do that.
Is that not why you've gathered me away from Miss Bain and Mr. Dodd? Enticed with a mug of mead? Undue influence?
It just smiles. I have to say though, it's like, like sorry, like out of character that it's like, Peas Blossom is not is definitely down but not completely out. Okay, Victor. So just so you know, because servants can't be harmed, fatally until the mastermind is taken out, essentially. So I forgot to make that clear. Clearer. Okay. So, but if you do want to do some kind of information, Whitmore, then, that's still available to you.
Since we're having such a pleasant conversation walking, I presume, through the house, back to the main no, it's not a lobby, the main foyer, where all of this, where the pantomime took place.
The other guests are still there. You still see the man in the sun mask like milling about, along with like maybe some other people like that. You have no idea who they are. They're just wandering around with masks on or whatever. But he always stands out in his golden garb. Yeah.
Fuck, since we're having this simple conversation, and this may be the last honest conversation you and I get before three this morning. Do you mind if I ask you just a question about schemes gone by?
Kind of just curls that smile and
How much of what's been thrown at Hargrave House these past few weeks, months even, how much of that has been your lady's doing, and how much of that has just been the wilds of London? Did you procure that painting on Three Mills Island? Was that one of Richard's works? How much effort has been put into this?
go ahead and make an information move, please. Disadvantage. I should have given you a condition, but I mean, like, basically disadvantage because you've imbibed some of his hooch.
Absolutely.
With, I'm sorry, reason ish.
And can I go ahead and pull out the letter from Queen Victoria that I've got?
Okay.
Like, even something as simple as a letter from the Queen hidden in the basement of Hargrave House. How deep has your work gone to try and negate that disadvantage?
Sure. So straight roll with reason, unless you can parlay something else.
No, reason works. We're just having a nice conversation. 6, 7, 8. 8 in total.
You're asking him a lot. What is the main question that you'd like to have him answer?
Is this the heart of the question at the heart of all of these other questions?
What do
Is
you
how
want to know?
is how long has this been going on? Does it stem? Has Titania been working at all of this since since Saint Cecilia's gargoyle? Farther back than that, or has she only taken an interest more recently?
So with the 8, you're going to get a very special clue, but you're also going to get a very special condition.
Lovely.
Puck looks over the brim of his mug at you with that that kind of drunken sparkle. Maybe it's stronger in your eyes, but you definitely see it mirrored in his, and just kind of looks at you and says, Oh, this has been going on for quite some time, my son. I probably shouldn't say anything. In fact, I won't. I'll just hint at it. It's really nothing, but it could be something. Kind of picked it off of a pocket. And you can figure out on your own which pocket I picked. He hands you, or like he draws out from a hidden pocket in his suit. It looks like a locket. Don't open it here. Get under cover of darkness or whatever and see if you can take a little look-see inside. I did not give that to you. And then he will, slop down the rest of his mug, and then under putting his mug down, he will slide the locket over to you and then wander away. And if you open the locket, there are 2 painted portraits in it, miniatures that look suspiciously like Lord James Campbell Hughes, and a miniature of what looks like, possibly, maybe not, Titania. That is your clue. The condition is, oh man, I don't want to make this to be like really important. It is special, but it's not like it's not like earth-shatteringly important. Damn. Your condition is a dangerous locket. Doc.
Yup.
So you go into the tunnels to follow your nose or your senses, basically. Ouch. And yeah, I think twisting and turning and all this kind of stuff, and I think some of these byways, there's like, the walls are thin, so perhaps that you're able to hear things, or maybe that's your preternatural senses, who knows. But I'm also gonna say that there's something here. There's something here in the walls that gives you the sense of your quickening prodding at you, or something shifting in you. What do you think would be pushing at your quickening at this time?
I mean, like how Doc would be experiencing that?
Or like would be yeah.
Because if the question is like,
What would trigger it?
what would trigger it?
Yeah.
Just knowing what I know, I think like the sensation via my preternatural senses that I'm being hunted. I think fight or flight stuff is the normal like pool of things that would probably cause those little twinges. And
Mm-hmm.
I think especially in this environment, and how do I put it? Like Doc is a person that goes to bars a lot, right? And I'm
Yeah.
sure has been in like a barroom scuffle. And
Mm-hmm.
in the moment preceding one of those, there is a twinge, right? But this the scope of that is pretty limited, right? Because this is like a presumably a normal person that's probably going to try to punch Doc. So the danger and how intense that fight or flight is starting to click isn't that strong. In a secret passage in this place, in this moment, and getting it from a kind of impossible to articulate sixth animal sense, not like, oh, I see a tiger, fight or flight is going. It's like I I'm just convinced now there is a tiger somewhere stalking me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a pretty intense pull, right? Like that's fight or flight because something that is very good at hunting things is hunting you.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull the trigger on your quickening.
Okay.
So you do have this sense of something stalking you in these hallways in the bowels of the house. And it's like you get this sense, it's like, you turn like one corner and then you try to see what's there. You don't know. Like you don't see anything, but you sense it. It's like the crawl that's up your spine. It's the tingle on the back of your neck, but you know it's happening and it's really pushing against your quickening. So, please roll your quickening for the last time.
Gotcha. Oh boy.
And
Gotta pull up the move. Pretty sure I can use sensitivity. I forget every time. Or not forget. It's mostly just like a what if I've forgotten? Yeah, okay, so I'll just roll sensitivity. Um, 2d6 plus 3. Let's see, is this something I want to try to give myself advantage on? And do I have anything in my remaining 3? Uh, no, I don't think I have anything that's a good sell in my 3 items remaining. So I will just do a quickening roll. Good, we still have it set up. Okay, that's a 7.
okay. All right, with the 7, managed to keep the quickening in check, but just barely. Take the following condition drained. So, yeah, I think it's the stalking sensation that's starting to get your heart pumping and your breath quick. And maybe you're stumbling through these halls trying to get away from this sensation, and you manage to stumble your way back into the main foyer from a secret passageway that appears out. And I think, Whitmore, it's like you will see Doc stumble from what seemingly is like out of nowhere, out of one of the walls.
Doc is like wild-eyed and not
Mm-hmm.
full on panting, but like breathing hard enough that his shoulders are moving, and like trying to keep his composure in the main foyer. If I remember, there's definitely a grand affect in this space. So I think it's like trying not to look like he was just chased through the secret passages of this place by the idea of a tiger.
Whitmore will come up to you, Doc, and sort of take you he'll get under one of your shoulders and help prop you up and move you away from the hidden passage. Did you run into the doctor?
I I couldn't tell you what I ran into, Whitmore. Uh, don't think it was any doctor, but
And Whitmore will,
I'm all
oh,
right.
well, let's get you a drink. Something, and he'll look at the flagon in his own hand and set it down for someone else to pick up. Something a little less strong than what I've got.
Like, Doc is talking while also like looking around the room. Like I don't know, Whitmore. Is anything here safe to drink?
Please
But
be
he lets
reminded,
himself.
yeah, please be reminded that she did say, avail yourself of the house and the grounds. Who knows what you find?
Hmm.
Shall
Yeah, I
we
think
head?
yeah. As Doc says that, he lets himself be led to wherever the closest thing that looks like a bar for sure.
An odd question for you, Mads.
Mm-hmm.
In the foyer, as one more callback in this episode of callbacks,
Mm-hmm.
is there a piano player?
Hmm. There is no piano player, but there are like instrumentalists wearing masks. Uh, Maybe a violinist, maybe a stringed instruments for sure,
Mhm.
and then yeah, harpist. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
I know it isn't the same as when Elroy does it, but perhaps sitting at the bar with a bottle of coffin varnish would do you some good right now.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, Whit. Uh, that one might do wonders at keeping me maybe a bit more grounded in this strange place.
And as Whitmore scans the bar, looking for bottles of alcohol, I don't see your brand. Perhaps in a wine cellar they've got it. Shall we head to the cellar? Looking for a bottle of coffin varnish?
Well, I certainly don't think either of us should head anywhere alone. So, let's beat feet.
Shoes. We wear shoes. We don't wear beads on our feet, but I think I understand.
I think you do find, like, eventually a door that will lead downstairs. But this is strange because while it is cooler, as you make your way down these steps, you don't hear the usual sounds of like a low basement or anything like that. It sounds more echoey. It's almost like you hear water in the distance as you both make your way down the stairs into this space. Victor, you are after you make Peas Blossom rather unconscious, and then you see the symbol. I think as you're looking out the window, you get this sense of these are vast grounds that are alternating with like a bunch of flora and trees that don't look quite normal for what you would know as the countryside per se. I think in the distance you also see what looks like a cliffside, because beyond it you see like what looks like a shining sea. But that may or may not be able to be possible. You're not sure.
I think and then Victor's like on the second floor, right? He came upstairs.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And he looks across this like fantastic landscape and looks around. He's still in that theater room, right? Or like that ballroom with where he was.
It could be like a ballroom-ish.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think as he sees all of that, Victor will get a sense that, yeah, like it's just much clearer that time is like running out. There's like something, the world is changing around them as they try to figure this out. And yeah, I think I think at this point, Victor is just like, at any door I go through, it's not going to make sense really where else he's going to go. So I think with still a goal of trying to find the queen, I think he'll just try to find like a different way out of this room than he entered and just travel through it. Maybe like hoping to like reconvene with Doc and Whitmore at some point, but he knows that that's like unlikely right now unless they just run into each other.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you trying to stay in the house, or are you trying to go outside?
Is there a way out? Or it's kind of just like a glass?
I mean, it's like a regular house, basically.
Yeah.
You don't really know about the passageway. Like, well, I mean, you could probably suspect it since that's where like Peas Blossom came out of nowhere. But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Right. So
I think then yeah. Yeah. I think Victor has tried, maybe I think attempted to find the queen, but there's definitely something weird happening there with the big ocean and stuff. So he will at least try to find his way out of the house to see what the outside looks like now.
Sure. All right. As you travel outside, perhaps you go into a bank of trees before you like head perhaps in the direction of the cliffside and the shining sea. And these trees again are weird. Like maybe they have fused trunks. Maybe they have like bits of what look like bush stuck on one side, but then like rising up into the air and looking like a regular tree with a canopy overhead. But I think outside is going to be someone waiting for you in similar iridescent metal armor as that person that accosted you that looked like Radamintha, but this time, this one is definitely male. And underneath their helmet, they have like flowing white hair. You can't see their face though. And they seem to be ready with several weapons actually. There's a sword at their hip, there's like a spear at their back, there's like, you know, other weapons that they seem to have slung off of their belt. But you know, underneath the helmet, they have they intone. I've always wanted to test my mettle against an Armstrong.
I guess this is just my thing now. I mean, it's always been my thing, but usually they don't just come walking up to me. I guess you'll be the third person challenging me this day. I
What? Are you
um
tired?
no, it's just um like three isn't a lot of people to fight, but in such a short period of time, being asked to duel out of the blue is just a little bit, I don't know, it's just strange. Not strange, just unexpected, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But I am, if you are you ready? I am ready. If you are, the setting you picked is very nice for this at the very least. Usually they're more dank and dark.
They're going to raise their helm to make it easier to see you.
Hmm.
You see a pair of I can't remember if he said like light or dark eyes, but you see like fey features.
Mm.
I've always wanted to challenge myself. The Armstrongs have a reputation. And consider this challenge match. Are you game?
Is this just some random fae, or do they seem familiar to me?
You would not know. You would not know them, but they are from Lord James's past.
Got you. Um, and so he says this. Victor goes, "You have chosen the setting of our duel. Am I to assume I get to choose the weapons then?"
Kind of smirks and says, "As you can see, I come prepared."
Victor will look at the weapons arranged in front of him. He will kind of like pace up and down, looking at the different things there. And he goes, hmm. He sees just like a pair, just like a classic sword and shield, and will go, you know what? Let's do this the classical way. All right. One sword, one shield. No horses though. That's annoying.
He's going to nod and he's going to pick out his sword and shield, and then he'll offer up the other weapons to choose from uh, for you to use. And then he'll say, "Good, but I will know who I have defeated. What is your name?"
If you defeat me, there'll be the last few moments before I die, and you will learn my name then. But you will have to earn it within this fight. And if you die I'll give you a last few words, and you will learn of the man who killed you.
I like that. Confidence. And then he'll put down his helm. And, he'll... Actually, because I don't think he's going to play fair. Because, I mean, again, he wanted to challenge. So I think he's going to lay right into you, of course. So, what do you want to use for this?
I think Victor will kind of is the second Fae person he's fought. So I think he has a better idea of how these people fight. Yeah, I think he will clash swords with them. And this time just kind of just take them head on.
Okay. So, this one you'd be rolling, night move. What could go wrong? And what are you... Vitality, I mean, would be the usual shtick. I mean, unless you want to argue for sensitivity.
Yeah. I think what could go wrong here is this Victor's already fought the knight of whatever this cadre of Fae are. I think what could go wrong here is that this is so obviously there's like a knight's duel that it is revealed that this person is actually a trickster Fae. The weapons Victor wields are a ruse and will actually weaken him. And they're just here to they're just fully fighting dirty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they could just as easily, crumble and then make you definitely have an unfair advantage with their very real weapons.
Oh,
for sure.
I think to be more specific, just because it's very fairy tale, like fantastical. I think the weapons, they're the weapons themselves. It has a bunch of them. The weapons themselves will fight Victor. Like they all fully muting the beast and just are all just gonna attack Victor.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything that else could go well. Hold on. No, I don't have anything that could go much worse than that because I mean, he'll help. He'll help the weapons, of course. So cool. All right, so yeah, roll with some vitality, please.
All right, just my regular vitality roll here. Save some of the other stuff for later. Yeah, still rolling pretty good. Rolling 11 this time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, let me go back to Doc and Whitmore first, and then we'll come back and resolve your 11 with this Fae. This one is not an actual servant of Titania, so conceivably, you could take him out too. So we'll see. Anyway, you two have gone down to the basement, and it's not an actual basement. It looks like it leads down to an underground river.
I swear, Whitmore, this whole place, the walls, the floors, and everything in it is just made to hornswoggle us, or it's trying to, which is not something I've said about a place before, but what could be down here?
There's a pathway, just so you know. I mean, the underground river is edged by raised stone that might have been carved, to be a walkway along this place. So there is an eventual end to it, but you'd have to see if you're going to follow it
What do you say, Whitmore?
or not.
If you're stable enough to walk on the slippery pavement, on the slippery path, by all means, lead the way.
All right. And Doc proceeds.
Information move, please.
Okay.
Mm, composure or reason?
Hmm.
Composure if you're thinking that you're going to have to, composure or vitality. Sorry, I'm going to change that up because it's like, you're not sure about this, unsure footing, kind of dark still. Maybe you're
Okay.
going by scent, who knows, but I want to see how badly this goes.
I'll I'll lean into my body. If we're talking about just like traversing a challenging area, I'll lean into my body and roll vitality. Even though I guess
You've
if I'm
got
drained, that's
drains,
disadvantage. Mm.
disadvantage.
Would it also be disadvantage if I did, was it composure was the other one?
Yeah, because I mean, like, you're
Eh,
you're still trying to you're still
Okay,
trying to
well,
get your bearings, but drained is messing you up.
yeah, I'll have disadvantage either way, so I might as well go vitality. I don't think I've made a roll with disadvantage before. I think I've usually canceled it out.
3d6. Take the two lowest.
Oh, I remember how it goes. Uh, you know, it's been my goal to always avoid it. Can't make it out unscathed though. Oh, this is bad.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, that's a 4.
Ooh, interesting.
Am I allowed to use a mask?
You
Doesn't
have
seem likely in the.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can still use mass to bring it up a tier, sure.
I feel,
Or
you know,
there is something you could conceivably use if you don't want to use a mask. But I'm going to put you in extreme peril if that's the case. So, I mean, I'm going to put you in extreme peril no matter what, but I mean, like, even more so if you're going to plan on using that particular move. But it is up to you.
I think I will use a mask of the past and just get it up to a middling success. Is that what that would be? Like a 7 to 9?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I will do. And I guess I'll have to figure out the scene I'm narrating before the end of tonight, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a flashback. I mean, like, and I do not want it to go. If you want to like try to maneuver it into like epilogues or something like that, or what have you, like something that you're remembering, please do because it's like, lost track of masks the last time I did a mastermind threat, and I was very sorry not to hear these stories. Damn it. Okay, so you're up to 7 to 9. I think what happens is as you're trying to traverse this particular river, I think you slip and then you plunge down the river, and the river actually has stronger current than you suspected. There is not only the current of the river pulling you down, but it feels like something's pulling you out. So, I mean, and that's with the 4. It would be if you were going to stick with it, and then, like, you'd start to feel like you were drowning because something is pulling you down. Um, but 7 to 9, it's like, the strong current is like just taking you out. You're keeping your head afloat, like, above water. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, you're being quickly carried away from Whitmore.
Whitmore is going to leap into the river
Mhm.
in an attempt to move or maneuver Doc to the side of this river. Essentially, two people swimming should be better than one.
Is this your My Person Friday, or are you just trying to pull off a night move?
Yeah, this will be my person Friday. You
Once per
know,
session, yeah.
to read that then for everyone. Once per session, you can appear in any scene at any time, ready for action. If there's an object or tool that would be helpful in the scene, I have it on hand. Add it to my personal quarters.
Right. So if you think that there's something that you want to
The
make
path
up that would work,
the
then
path was leading somewhere. It must have been leading to like a small dock with a small rowboat. Whitmore's just getting in the boat. He's not diving into the water. He's going after Doc with a rowboat.
so yeah, I mean, like, it's gonna take a little bit to fish
Oh,
him
yeah.
out, like you're gonna have to row like really hard
Mhm.
to get there and get to Doc. But Doc, I mean, like yeah, like you are soaking wet, and yeah, Whitmore manages to drag you back into the boat. Um, and so yeah, you can follow this place down. But I think with the 7 to 9, hmm, yeah, you're already drained. But I mean, I want to add something to this. Yeah, I mean, like your 7 to 9 was that you were luckily not dragged down to your drowning death, but like you're just yeah, you know, you got dragged into the water and you are now soaking wet. So
Yeah, I think
soaking wet
Doc.
is an additional condition.
Is it?
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Quick question, because I don't think we've
Yeah.
approached this before. What happens when you have? I assume nothing happens when you have
Oh,
maximum
that's
conditions.
right.
But if
That's
I
right.
were to get a one more condition, would something happen?
Yes, you'd have to enact a mask.
Okay. So I'm in that place now. I have three conditions. I have brooding, drained, and soaking wet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You get
Doc,
another one. It's like you're
start.
gonna have to negate it with a mask. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I've got so few of those left. Yeah, Doc coughs up a bunch of water and looks at Whitmore and goes, like hands on his knees, kind of half bent over into the rowboat. Whitmore, I have to admit, I'm getting tuckered out, and I don't think I like it here.
I don't think any of us like it here. But can Whitmore try and deduce where this river goes? Because he's gonna tell Doc, I think wherever this river goes is probably where Titania wants us to be. And we should not go where Titania wants without Victor.
I think you're going to hear, as you come out more into the open from the underground river, I think you're going to hear sounds of fighting.
Ah,
Shing of metal,
Well, that's
clash
got to be
on
Victor.
shield, shield on shield, such and
if
so forth.
if it isn't, Victor's probably not far off.
Yeah, that sound of two knives and or swords striking against one another. Victor's always close by for that one.
Whitmore will row just a little bit faster, trying to get to the sound.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, Victor, like under this big canopy and like surrounding strange flora. I mean, like you are fighting this as yet unnamed Fae in armor, and tell us with that 11, like how you. Well, How do you deal with him?
Yeah. So I think it starts off as kind of as a straight fight. It's just like fast, quick sword clashes, like ting 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 ting. And at some point, Victor realizes that he's not fighting the person anymore. In the flashes, we see that only the sword and shield are fighting him. And then we see the knight in the distance just standing. And then we see all the weapons rise up around him. They rush Victor. The shield he's holding becomes incredibly heavy and pulls him down. He was strapped into it. And the sword kind of like lays Victor out, like it like pulls him to the side so that he is kind of trapped in this spot as all the weapons rush towards him. I think just out of pure, like there's no skill involved in this moment. He like lets go of the sword. He reacts quick enough to let go of the sword before it could just disable him. And he just like bites through the leather that's holding him down from the shield. Like there's no like cool monster hunter here. It's just straight survival. And as all these weapons rush him, he like jumps backwards and then jumps to the side behind a tree. A few of the weapons enter the tree, and then he rushes forward. These weapons are coming at him. Um, he dodges left and right. He like um, like jumps between a few weapons, and I think it's like an impossible task. I think he still gets hurt. He's surviving, but he's getting slashed here and there. There's a slash across his face. You can see him wince as something slashes across his back. At some point, he gets tripped up by like a shield that comes flying out of nowhere and has to recover and get back to his feet. But eventually, he gets close to the knight, and the knight pulls back some weapons to protect him. Victor pulls out his hatchets, and as the weapons rush him, he just shatters these weapons that rush him. And as he gets to the knight, he jumps up, lands both his knees on the knight's chest, and the knight goes down, slides onto grass a bit, and Victor like savagely just puts hatchet hit after hatchet hit into this person's helmet. At first, he's just denting the helmet over and over again. It's Fey made, it's magical, but at a certain point, it breaks, and whatever it kind of just looks like a crushed tin can at a certain point in time, and whatever is underneath there is can no longer be called a face by the end of it.
I don't even think like you can remove it because of the way that you're bashing into it. You hear him scream from all this, and perhaps there is a little bit of blood, but none of it Victor's. And I think this is the scene, or your friends come upon you as you are savaging perhaps this person's helmet. They may not necessarily see it per se, maybe they come upon you from behind. They see you on top of someone and then just, you know, belaboring them with your hatchets, but what do you two think seeing this? Seeing Victor in his true savagery.
Whitmore would be just a little bit frightened and disappointed. Not that Victor let himself go to his more primal urges. Hargrave House is no stranger to primal urges between the rest of the hunters, but disappointed that this is what it's come to, that there wasn't a better solution.
I don't think that Doc would be terribly surprised. I think that it, like layers underneath the several very humorous conversations that Doc and Victor have had about what it's like to be searching for romance and finding violence alongside it. Like miles below that very funny bit we were doing for a little bit is like the bedrock for why that can happen is because both Doc and Victor, I think, are people that possess, more violence deeper within them than there is on the outside. Or there is more violence within them than there is in the world at large. And that creates a conflict and kind of a tension. And so this is more of like a somber recognition of the thing that was expected.
When you are done, Victor, and you notice your friends, do you say anything to them?
I think Victor will stand up. Um, the Fae will thud to the ground as when Victor stands up, part of his face is still lodged. His hatchet is still lodged in his face, and Victor has to like pull it off. Victor will swing his hatchets. No blood is left on them. They're 100% clean after he does that, and he puts them back into their sheets. Um, I think he will say, All right, gentlemen, I believe it's about time we end this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I do not like this place. And I've got no great concern over the well-being of any king or queen or monarch, but I do want to make sure that Lord James Campbell Hughes makes it back sometime soon.
Don't think Lord James Campbell Hughes would forgive us if we allowed Victoria to fall either.
Yeah. That occurred to me as well, or I would have been talking a lot more about my objection to, I guess, indirectly supporting the monarchy is what. Anyway, that's not the case. Gotta do right by James Campbell Hughes.
This is where we enter into the freewheeling discussion about how you are going to answer this question. You have 6 clues, I believe. Yes, 6 clues that you need to figure out how you want to craft into the answer. Where is Titania going to hold this sacrifice ceremony to bring the worlds together and the nightmares to bear? So, as a review of the clues, severely disfigured human handprints, a cape of autumnal leaves, a train of spring petals on an ebony figure, a collection of photos of eerie, twisted nature, a symbol of a two-ended tree where there are full branches and roots at either end, and a locket with painted miniatures of Lord James and Titania. So, you can use 2 of those clues and roll with negative. You can use 4 of those clues and roll a straight roll, or try to incorporate all 6 and then get a +2. Okay? So, anybody have any theories whatsoever about where this is going to take place?
So I'm not sure what kind of places there are here, but at least with the first, what, like one, two, three, four, 5 clues, was just getting the vibe vaguely of like a glade, right? Like a fey meadow somewhere in the grounds behind this building.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I think all of those things pretty cleanly fit. I'll stop myself before going into it in deeper detail because it's very vague. I want to hear what other people have to say.
And you can contextualize these things as much as you want, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be something, it is, it happened with the wrench in the rose garden, and you know what I mean? It's like it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be like clue. It has to just be something that you explain, that you will find once you figure it out.
So, the fact that we've got autumnal leaves and spring petals, as well as Victor's cloak of, or sorry, scrolling down in the personal quarters items, cloak of summer jubilee and the cloak of winter melancholy. I think wherever this takes place, all 4 seasons are happening at once. We've got guests dressed in capes of autumn leaves, the cloak of winter melancholy and summer jubilee shining brightly or rolling in like storm clouds, and the ground being littered with spring petals dancing across a black ebony figure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think so. It's like a glade where all the seasons are kind of coming together. I think the symbol of a two-ended tree, roots at either end, is like one half of the tree is kind of like a tree in winter. It's a lot drier and things like that. And the other side is a much more vivacious, like wood that's clearly part of summer. And I think because I think also this might, just to contextualize the last one, this might be like it's coming into our world, but it's like the place that Lord James and Titania first met, maybe.
Is it that village?
I forget, but maybe, yeah, like a village in a glade. Photos of an
And
eerie, twisted nature. I mean, it could just be it's twisted because it's like the blending of the seasons, so it's tough to really grasp at them unless you knew that context.
I think the way that the nightmare, unless Bobby got something for the handprints.
They reminded me of the creatures that I came across during my investigation, or like half-formed creatures. And very specifically, Mads reminded us this doesn't have to be a thing that we put together like on our way there. It simply has to be a thing that like we as players are saying we will find when we get there. Like the some of the experiments transforming people like this that have lived and aren't in tubes in the lab, like that's where they're sent or kept, or like more experiments they're watched, right? Like they're set to live in the forest where this glade is, if they survive past the first stage. So like we find them there, kind of wandering like animals.
So is that to explain the severely disfigured human handprints?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, like they could totally be part of this experiment, and maybe that's what she meant when she said, like, she was going to be bearing these nightmares, because,
Yeah.
like, not necessarily from the Fey realm or the nightmare realm. Maybe it truly is like, where she has worked with whatever or whomever is creating these things, and these are the first wave of the nightmare invasion. So they're very real, but they're very, like, they're based in human form. So something's, yeah, something's creating these things too. So that uses up all the clues. The important part now is who's rolling.
My luck has gone sour the past handful of rolls, so I would say let's not put this on me.
I'll roll one die if you want to roll the other one, Jeremy.
Yep, absolutely.
I give that my blessing.
+2.
5.
6.
Nice.
Ooh.
Woo! I'm cheering, I'm
Mm-hmm.
yelling, I'm screaming.
I believe the mastermind
Oh,
will be involved in this if we
y-
rolled higher than a 12.
we did. Oh, I wonder how Titania appears in this.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. This is a great success. You are completely right about your theory. So, yeah, you will be able to find this, as you're making your way back, or, after this fight and such. You are able to not scour, but search through the grounds a little bit more, and you do find this glade of the strange trees. Maybe they have fused trunks. Maybe they are, both ends are very visible. That looks similar, like one half winter, one half summer, and then also the uh, the seasons look like they are converging upon it. So you get the sense of crunchy autumnal leaves. You feel the blast of summer heat, but then you also smell the freshness of springtime flowers, while also getting a chill up your bones as you step through, like, maybe the shadow, and it feels like winter chill. So, yeah. So you do find this place. It's not quite close. So, what kind of preparations do you want to make since you've stumbled onto this very likely place of the ceremony? How do you want to thwart her plan?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we could go the Victor Lord James Campbell Hughes route. That would involve blowing up or lighting on fire a significant portion of this area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't think the Whitmore route of let's all talk out our feelings is going to go over too well at this stage.
Yeah.
And yeah. And based on those, that lab you mentioned, Doc, I believe um an old hunt of mine may make this more complicated than we originally thought.
How's that?
If we were only dealing with the Fae, this would be we would it would be a lot more straightforward. We've dealt with them before, we have an idea of what they would bring. But my old hunt involves a lot of strange creatures that are inexplicable in ways we are not accustomed to. It just may be, it may just take us off guard. We have to be prepared for that.
That sounds pretty ominous, but all right.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it'll be pretty clear which of them is my, I guess you would call them my nemesis. Just don't, I, yes, just don't let him touch you.
That's a hmm. Okay.
I don't
Feels
think
like
I
a
want
lot.
I don't think I want anyone to touch any of us.
I agree, Whitmore. So what's our plan? This doesn't seem like a let's wait till all of the fairies show up and
Mm-hmm.
fight them until they die or give up.
So in this, I presume in the center of this glade, there's this double-headed tree.
Yes.
Are we cutting down this tree? Because the panto clearly showed Lord James Campbell Hughes and Queen Victoria tied to a stake.
Mm,
And this is the closest thing to a stake in this entire clearing. If they don't have this, then they have nothing to be bound to, and the ritual will be delayed, throwing some chaos into Titania's plans.
I I like the sound of that, to be honest. I mean, we don't normally go this way, but I was kind of thinking maybe we could like sully the ritual space in some strange occult fashion so
Mm-hmm.
that no magic cast here could prosper. But cutting
Hmm.
down the tree, I mean, that would be cutting down the tree would probably get to the same destination by a different road, I imagine. I don't have an axe.
I do.
I
Okay.
have explosives.
Called it. Knew it. Right before we showed up, when you were putting that one fairy creature down, Victor, Wilmore and I called it. We were like, sound of clash and steel. It's got to be Victor. And then I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned explosives, and you got him. Perfect.
So the plan is for Victor to blow the tree up?
Well, I
Blow the
guess
glade up?
I guess we could all do like the goal, the larger goal would be to make this space unfit for a ritual
Yeah.
and or make the ritual impossible to do. And we could
Mm-hmm.
do that by you two chopping down the tree. And I don't know if I'm going to be useful in that regard.
Yeah,
I could
and it
also try to do like again the kind of sullying thing that
yeah,
Doc was talking about. I've got
and
stuff.
yeah, and like if we're going by like classical interpretations of Fae, like Fae, it's usually a lot of just like manners and rules and like politeness kind of like between each other and promises is made. So it shouldn't be that, or like there has to be like like other vectors to make sure that this I'm sure particular ritual doesn't go through without like a hitch. Like there has to be the tree is probably a big one, but there's other ways to kind of at least slow down the ritual or
Well,
mess it up. Yeah.
so I've got a piece of glowing yellow. I mean, I know we don't like need to use things from our personal quarters to do
Hmm.
stuff necessarily, but like I specifically have highlighted this piece of glowing yellow rock found near Three Mills Island that I brought with me specifically. It's one of my three remaining items out of the four. And I was thinking, what if Doc like ground that up
Yeah.
and salted the earth with it? That
Hmm.
feels like something that
Yeah.
if you were to seed it into the dirt of a magical grove, it would be so bad.
Yeah.
And no good things could happen after that. Add on to that just a couple layers of vaguely coherent occult symbology, and I think we got something that seems correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's solidify the plan. It sounds like a lot of this is doing prep ahead of time, like you're laying a trap for Titania, right? So okay, so who's doing what now? So Doc is grinding up the rock,
Mhm.
glowing rock to seed, to ruin the ground
Mhm.
of the glade. Okay. Whitmore is doing what now?
Whitmore was going to chop down a tree, unless Victor wants to do that.
No, it's fine. Victor will just like plant explosives all around.
Whitmore could like use, I think, what, you have a hatchet with you, right?
Yeah, I got a hatchet with
Use
me.
your hatchet to like create I think we would call it like a wedge in the tree that then
Oh, so
Victor
we'll
fills with explosives, so like to guarantee that tree
and so
falls
we
over.
and so we don't detonate. So the tree doesn't fall down until the middle of the ceremony.
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about the timing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was saying that because I think cutting through, and I'm assuming this is like a kind of impressive tree because why wouldn't it be magic? And it would be tough to cut through that with a hatchet. Not that we're totally limited by the constriction of reality here, but the combo of using a hatchet to cut a shallow-ish wedge on this big tree and then stuffing that wedge full of dynamite would be like that definitely can cut down a tree pretty quick. Doing it in the middle of the ritual sounds even better.
So Victor will help wedge open the tree, maybe in an unseen spot. Who knows where they're approaching? But anyway, yeah. And then Victor will plant some dynamite in it, and hopefully not set it off until middle of the ceremony. But yeah, and the glowing rock could be just to kind of just to, what is it, salt the earth basically with something
Yeah,
unknown.
I'm making the opposite of a salt circle, like as
Okay.
opposed to protecting and sanctifying
Mm-hmm.
a place. It's like a salt circle made of bad vibes.
So you're gonna corrupt it, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So given the 11, the way this works, but I mean, like we're also kind of running low on time unless people can stay just slightly over. Um, yeah. So with the 11, you do succeed. Your guess is right. Your theory is right. So we can go through any narration of like this is what is happening, and then if anything comes up that like needs a night move or whatever, then we'll see how that goes in the middle of it. Okay, but for right now, you do all your preparations, what you plan on doing. Nothing is noticed right off the bat, so the party is making their way to the ceremonial area. We have several guards in this armor, and they are leading Melody, who is wearing the cloak of winter melancholy, and then Radamintha, who seems to be wearing armor of the Fae. But both of them look kind of blank, like as if they're not sure what they're doing. And then there seems to be like other guards flanking them with boxes, like that could be holding like ritual knives or something like that. And behind them are the prisoners, the guests of honor, Lord James Campbell Hughes and Queen Victoria. They have not been treated well. They are in the combined, entwined branches and iridescent chains. And then behind them is Titania and her cadre. So Puck, Peas Blossom, and Cobweb. Peas Blossom's looking kind of worse for wear. Obviously with battling Victor. Puck looking a little drunk, but he's fine. And then Cobweb, nobody had seen, but I mean, like she seems to be, instead of her usual suit, she is actually in something like the armor as well of the Fae. Someone at Titania's side, along with her servants, and this is similar to the person that Victor took out with the white hair, but it looks a little bit older, and he'll turn to Queen Titania and say, "My brother, unfortunately, did not survive his encounter with the Armstrong. If we do find them, mistress, I want first right to execute Victor Armstrong for this transgression against my family." And Titania will just look very serious and looking ahead and says, "Once the ceremony is over, you can do whatever you want to the hunters of Hargrave House. They will have lost their leader, and we will have gained so much more. They'll be lucky to survive the invasion of the nightmares, and the worlds will merge, so they will have nowhere to run." And they approach. I think you ground the rock up so well that, like, you don't see anything of it. And, like, of course, 3 a.m., it's like not much light here except for probably, like, the moonlight. And amazingly enough, the moonlight and then some starshine, which should not be possible, but there it is. So, the worlds have already started to collide. And, mystic passes, ceremony starts. There's a lot said in the Fae language, and it looks like they're getting ready to release Lord James Campbell Hughes and Queen Victoria, but only to bring them over to the tree. And I'm assuming that from the front it still looks fine, but you've wedged the dynamite in the back. Do you want to act, or will they see the opening of the tree and, suspect some treachery?
The plan was like he saw the tree and how it was structured,
Mhm.
and looking at it, he knows that, like, when he looked at it, he knows that he can't. It's not just like a straight up explosion to bring the whole thing tumbling down.
Mhm.
I think instead of like Whitmore and Doc would be surprised at how meticulous Victor plans these things. Victor thinks back to one of the other houses. I think it would be like, let's say it's the Durans. They are the, like, they assassinate monsters by blowing them up. They're the best at it. It's kind of their whole shtick. A lot of volcanoes blowing up is just them like killing the monster in the volcano. Um, uh, and yeah, Victor like sets up this complicated like fuse network with the explosives he has. Um, and it's attached to like Victor had Whitmore use his hatchet and kind of dig up spots. So it's not just the tree blowing up, it's also going to be like roots and stuff, like the structure of the tree would be involved. I think at this point in time, because we don't have like fancy things, I don't think they see the explosives, but Victor just like has lit the fuse and it's slowly going, and it will just explode when it is fictionally appropriate to explode.
Of course it will.
Yeah.
But I have a night move for for discovery. So I mean, like, doesn't matter who ends up rolling it. I mean, it's going to be like a discovery for all in the sacrificing party to see. Like, somebody will notice. It's like, here's the fuse. What's this? Da da da. And
Mhm.
so it's like, you'd be rolling against composure, I guess,
Yeah.
just to make sure that it's like everything's fine, nothing's going on, it's all cool, nobody's gonna discover shit,
Mhm.
and versus, yeah, they're gonna see it, and
Yeah.
things are gonna need to happen. Yep.
Yeah. I can roll since I made the
Since you played,
dynamite.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I will mark even more dynamite. And I mean, yeah, that's the fear, right? They'll be discovered and we'll have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
on the spot, like either light it again or
Hmm.
have to risk ourselves in the process of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3d6. Yeah. Rolled thank God for the advantage. Came up pretty good. That is gonna be an composure, right?
Yeah.
Just a straight 11. 5 and 6.
Okay. The clue here is that everything goes off without a hitch. I mean, not goes off, but I mean, like, ceremony goes on, nobody notices the dynamite. However, because it's dynamite, does somebody want to roll night move to see if they can get Lord James and Queen Victoria away, and maybe even Radamintha and Melody, depending on what you decide to do. They seem to be, again, they seem to be not themselves. Like, they're staring straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
They're just doing what they're doing, and then people are handing them the ritual knife, the ritual knives.
Whitmore is going to have to try and get Lord James Campbell Hughes and I guess the Queen away from that pile of dynamite. The worst part is the only thing coming to my mind at the moment is to flying tackle them onto the ground away from the dynamite.
So vitality.
But, but,
Hmm.
is the sacrificing party is all looking at this tree so that Lord James Campbell Hughes and Queen Victoria are the only two facing the back. Right?
Yes.
All eyes are on them.
Yes, because like they're murmuring ceremonial chants or what have you, and then
In,
getting prepping the.
in that case, instead of a flying tackle, which is not Whitmore's style, Whitmore would like get to the center of the aisle, like sneak into the side of the aisle and try and make himself seen by both Lord James Campbell Hughes and Queen Victoria, and try and beckon them forwards, like trying to like position them so that they start slowly shifting themselves away from the dynamite.
I thought they were lashed to the tree.
Oh, they are lashed to the tree?
I mean, that's what I
They
was.
are, yes. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
In that case, I think it's Whitmore coming in, using the hatchet to cut through the bindings and daring them and commanding them to run.
Night move, composure. You're stealthing this out, trying to do this
Mm-hmm.
before discovery or without
Yep.
discovery, and you have a dangerous locket. I'm gonna call disadvantage on that because if anyone sees that you have that thing, you are in so much trouble, man. What do you think will go wrong?
Whitmore's getting tied to that tree in addition to Lord James Campbell Hughes and Queen Victoria. He gets caught and is tied to that tree too.
Yeah, I mean, like, spilled human blood, like a little bit more, couldn't hurt. It's all right.
Mm-hmm.
More fuel for the ceremony. So unless you have something in your
I
personal
well,
quarters
while
to.
I do have something in the personal quarters, I would like to make a case for using the employer, not with Doc, who it currently is set to, but with Lord James Campbell Hughes as it originally was. Whenever I take a roll done in direct defense of my employer, I get advantage.
I'll take it. Maybe not rules is written, but I don't fucking care.
I also have a hatchet if you prefer.
Either way.
We're gonna go with the employer.
Okay. Roll straight. Yep. With composure.
Fuck, that's a 6. Total. After everything said and done. Ah,
It had to happen sooner or later.
yes.
Well, hold on a second. So, yeah, I mean, you can always bump it up. Well, let me
Yes.
narrate the bad situation first. So you think you're being quiet. You think you're being stealthy, but these are Fae.
Mhm.
Yeah. And like, of course, like, the guards like pick you off like almost immediately, and they will lash you to the actually, you know, they will kind of like laugh. It's like, for that you're daring to do this and what have you. But I think as they're jostling you and trying to tie you to the tree, I think the locket falls. And one of the guards will bring it over to Titania. And then she will recognize it. And when she opens it, she gets this furious look on her face. And she will order the white-haired young man to stab you through the heart. Fuel for the flame ahead of time, or whatever,
Mhm.
before they take out Victoria and Lord James. And I think Lord James is going to say, "I didn't reveal anything. That's not mine. I don't know how he got it." And yeah, so if you want to accept the 6 and then
Die.
expire, yeah, that's one thing that you could do. Or you could do a mask.
Or, as much as I
Or,
would love to do a mask, there was a
yeah,
request for the Eternal Man.
nice.
Whitmore's gonna use one of the boxes of the Eternal Man. He is not dead. So, as a reminder, that's from the Shoreditch Slugger's Strength. When the keeper narrates a hunter's death as the result of a missed roll, we mark one of the 3 boxes below and say how through sheer brute strength and force of will, perhaps machinations of the occult, you survive. The hunters share the track.
Right.
It's not like Whitmore to show brave strength, but as Lord James Campbell speaks, Whitmore's going to put a single finger up to his mouth to silence him mid plea. That's not who you are. And pull his finger back and Whitmore's going to kiss his own finger that was just on Lord James Campbell Hughes's lips and allow that passion to burn within him, kick off from the tree before they can get the ropes around, and snatch that locket out of the hands of the guard ideally before he gets a chance to look, but if it's too late, after it's been looked at. No, Queen Titania, it came not from Lord James Campbell Hughes, it came. And he'll wink at the trio of servants from your inner circle before attempting to dash out of the central clearing back into the safety of the shadows.
Okay. And I think, the inexorable, like, pace of the the wick. All right. So, Doc, if you want to do a particular thing to save or to defend or whatever, you have the chance to do that now, and then we're just going to narrate, like, how you take the party out and what and whom survives.
Remind me, are there still people that are kind of like under a spell?
Yeah, I mean, like, you still have Radamintha and Melody, like,
I'm gonna try to get them in the confusion because I have to imagine if the explosion from Victor and Whitmore freeing the Queen and Lord James Campbell Hughes while also like ha entering into a situation where he should have died, but then powers through. Things are going crazy, and
Yeah.
that's when Doc like tries to snap those two out of it, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like calling, not calling on it necessarily, but like utilizing the bad vibe salt circle that Doc laid down earlier, and just
Right.
like Doc's innate, like charisma bordering on animal magnetism, shapeshiftery vibes. And just being like, now you gotta get over here now.
I mean, night move,
Yeah.
sensitivity or what have you, and then just like, see how well you do and like waking them up or what have you. I can already tell you like what's going to go wrong is that, they slay you because they do not recognize you. They are still under, you know,
Yeah.
the Fey power.
Do
Okay.
I have disadvantage for any of my conditions? I I wasn't sure.
Soaking wet does not count. What else we got? Drained. I mean, drained possibly because it's like you're in a weakened state, but I'm not going to hold that against you. I'm like,
Okay.
unless you're full on like doing like a you know double ball carry, like
Right.
like
Normally,
firemen carrying them out of there. I mean, like
yeah, normally that'd be my move. But yeah, in this case I was trying to set up Doc with something that's like all of my work's ahead of time. And I'm gonna, is it okay if I mark the yellow rock to get
yes.
advantage on this? Okay.
Oh sure.
Cool. So and we'll do sensitivity, and that is a 10.
Nice.
Yeah.
You succeed. So you're saying you're yelling at them to like with your all that power behind it.
Yeah, again, I think it's like, you ever seen a movie when someone gets magic powers and they're figuring out how to use them? There's like the first instinct is just for them to like kind of flex really hard, especially if it's someone that like got the ability to fly, right? I feel like it's a
Right,
common
right.
thing. It's like, I don't know how to do, I'm just gonna flex every muscle. It's the equivalent of that, but for what's happening here, right? It's like Doc has a weird quickening shapeshifter curse. Doc has animal, intense senses and like the magnetism thing going on. And then Doc kind of, well, junk magic, I think, is what you could call this,
Okay.
or gutter magic. And yeah, it's like force of personality meets vibey, magicy animal magnetism meets like back of the napkin occult ritual and
Right.
a really potent magical rock.
Right. And in which case I think what ends up happening is that you know, like the occult part of it will affect the winter melancholy cloak and then the armor. And there's like a crack in the armor, and then there's like the cloak loosening or almost falling off altogether. Like it's not fused to Melody anymore. And I think they both wake up, and Radamintha's totally confused. Like, maybe it's counting down. Like, we see the pan back and forth between you, dynamite, whatever. And then it's like, you're getting them up, and Melody's looking at you, Doc, and saying, Doc, what are we doing here? What, what do we need to do?
For now, just stay with me and get away from that tree.
And they follow you, and I think that's about the point where let's just say that like when Whitmore like receded into the darkness and such, maybe you got a chance to cut their bonds like on your way out, and so maybe like Lord James and the Queen got away in the confusion because I think this is the perfect point for the tree and all the surrounding connected explosion dynamite to explode, and so given that. What's your ending? What's your epilogue look like? It can be soon after, immediately after, or a day or two. What do each of you think happened to your characters?
boy, I unmuted to like begin and then just like there's so much. I think I want to follow through and let me make sure that I didn't actually end up marking any of the other masks, the masks of the future. No. Okay. So I think that the epilogue for Doc is less than conclusive because to me, like as I kind of gestured at earlier with the description of what kept Doc grounded in that weird experiment space, like Doc's really just there to kind of have a stable place to get to sleep and not be under the yoke of his parents. And at least for now, having saved Lord James Campbell Hughes, hopefully, I would. I think a lot more people have to weigh in on this. I would hope that Lord James Campbell Hughes returns to the house and Doc doesn't have to worry about maybe being a figure in social circles in London and having to manage the small pile of gold that he stole from his parents. He can let Whitmore and Lord James Campbell Hughes go back to handling that, and he can go back to, you know, solving odd occult mysteries, but mostly hanging out at the hare chasing hounds, um, and getting to, every now and again in one of the many strange rooms of Hargrave House, share a drink of Whitmore's gin with uh with the whole crew. And I think in this I should weave in my mask. I think there's like one night after like we've successfully kicked a bunch of gnomes out of a botanical garden that had been causing mischief. And it was fairly easy and not a lot of threat to our lives. And we're maybe down in we're in like the theater because so much happened there during this adventure we've done. Having a gin, reminiscing about things with Victor and Whitmore and probably Lord James Campbell Hughes. Doc goes something to the effect of, you know what? I can't believe I've never told anyone this, but it's funny now. We made it to the other side of things. I think it's like a couple months after everything that's gone down. We made sure the Queen of England didn't die. Um, we've been to a lot of strange places, and I've got this thing, and all of you've seen it in different ways, from my facial hair growing out of control to getting a little bit antsy sometimes, and a lot of folks would assume if you're the book reading type that something like that happens to someone due to a like as a punishment maybe or due to some like great tragedy. Um, but the truth of the matter is, for me, I wasn't even directly involved. Uh, it was someone I dated when I was out running cattle in Arizona. Uh, Apparently upset a witch, and for I got the bad end of that. Um, it took me months to figure that out because I just woke up one day and all this stuff started happening. I had God, I hadn't seen Henry for 4 months. I don't know why it took that long for the curse to kick in, but then I had to track him down and it was a whole mess. But it's taken me a really long time to want to laugh about it. But you know, at the end of the day, I think it's kind of funny because it was all just an accident, I guess. And I think that kind of, hey, this is where we're at by maybe unsatisfying if you were reading a book per se or like watching a TV show. But I really like those kinds of endings in stories that are inhabited. And that's just what we've been doing with this story for a pretty long time now. That's where I'd like to end it. Doc getting to tell a really funny in hindsight story about himself for the first time and feel like, you know, at least for now, at least since the last time everything looked like it was going to go very badly, uh, things are going all right, and that's enough.
I think for Victor's epilogue, um, we can see him and Radamintha. Um, I think in like the explorers, like I forgot the name of the carriage guy, but like they
Gareth.
yeah, he wasn't far away because Lord James Campbell Hughes was needed a ride after this,
Hmm.
so I think Gareth brought like a few friends and for them to like leave this place, and Victor and Radamintha are just look. They had to leave. Everyone had to leave in a hurry because there was a lot of dynamite, and um, it will take like the scent ripples out between the two dimensions, so you don't want to be in that place when the two places kind of like rubber band back apart, kind of deal. But so you're just looking off into it, and Victor will go. Um, Radamintha, he was there. I didn't expect to see him, but I've learned from the past that he is not someone you face when we are not prepared. We were prepared for Titania, but not him. And Radamintha will go. Um, I guess it's true what they say about us and the great families. When one hunt ends, another one begins. And then we go back to this place where the explosion is happening. And I think because the dimensions are breaking, that there's like explosions happening in like multiple spaces in time. But we see this mangled body, and at some point we just see parts of a spine. But then we see like the nerves reconnect to each other and then pull the spine together, and then nerves grow from the spine, ribs grow from the spine, and then the ribs begin to crawl away from the site. As the ribs begin to crawl away, muscular and tissue cover the bones until a man is reshaped. He picks up some spectacles from the ground and walks off from the ritual space. And then we cut from there and we see, I think Victor is leaving the bar that he was with everyone else. We see him walking through London's dark streets, and eventually he makes it to an alley and goes, "All right, what are you all doing here? We, it's no one's birthday. Maybe I've forgotten." And yeah, we see different members of different large families, hunter families there. We see Redmintha, obviously. We see this um, very dark-skinned woman with just different weapons coming like strapped onto her. We see this man that is basically just that is large and muscular, but looks incredibly athletic and flexible. We see someone, if you look very, it's tough to see, but just deep in the shadows is just like a shape. Um, and then we see this like this smaller woman kind of just like smoking at a spot. Um, and Radamintha will go, uh, Victor, this beast has been a plague, not just on your family, but on all of ours. Also, you did, you never um organized who would be your best men and women. So I took it upon myself to gather them here. for the first time. And we will make sure that the beast you are so obsessed with, the beast that's keeping you from truly marrying me, will finally be taken down. And yes, wherever these people are, it's a different campaign and a wholly different game. And this is the start of it.
We'd see Whitmore sometime in between the spine crawling away from Victor's epilogue and us sitting in the base or in the theater drinking from Doc's. We'd see days pass as Whitmore nurses Lord James Campbell Hughes back to health. See the conversations, we wouldn't hear them between these two men. And I think shortly after, we sat in the theater drinking gin and talking. We'd see Whitmore hand Lord James Campbell Hughes a note. It's a folded letter with a locket, a dangerous locket on it. As Whitmore would hand in his resignation letter. Simply citing, I'm not the person that you need by your side doing this. There are better people for this job than me. Lord James Campbell Hughes would take the letter, nod solemnly, put the locket on, and throw the letter unread into the fire, watching it crackle and burn, as so many things do. Whitmore would look at him confused. And they would draft a new contract together. Simply just a servant and confidant, no longer a hunter. We'd see Whitmore leave Hargrave House with a smile on his face and renewed passion for leading an ordinary life. He'd walk to the candle lit and ask Miss Melody Bain if she's got a job opening, as Whitmore's got a lot more free time on his hands these days. Some probably years down the road, we'd see Whitmore and Melody sitting in her front room, both reading adventure novels, probably some Rosicrucius lie turned novel, and hanging on the wall, a painting. The painting dances just a little bit. The fairies involved move. As for the final item from Memory as a Servant, Whitmore is going to take Titania sleeping and hang it in Melody's sitting room.
And I think as a final scene, as the explosion clears and the worlds, the barrier between the worlds starts to heal. And maybe the one painting or the piece of painting was taken or destroyed or burned deeper into the woods. Somehow, there is a framed mirror, blackened, darkened, but not cracked. And as the sun shines and then sets and shines and sets yet again, over the course of a few days into night, this mirror that sits alone in the wood starts to clear itself. And then inside its depths, there is a vision of some other place, some other world. And it is twisted and aflame. And there is a woman there, running, in a burgundy hood, deep further in to this world, with one look back of hatred, but then resignation, as she pulls her hood tighter over her head and goes to face this world, leaving ours behind. And thus the end of the Between Darkened Mirrors. Congratulations, guys. You made it. Oh my gosh. I hope it's what you hoped, wanted, and hopefully a little bit more. But if not, I mean, I hope you felt like you got satisfaction out of this or any other parts of the whole campaign. So, final stars and wishes for Darkened Mirrors?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of cool stuff happened during the session. But I'll just give stars to you all in general as players. I think hopefully Daniel finds time to watch the end of the campaign he had to step out of. Start to Daniel for being such like a stalwart figure throughout this, being like playing with Daniel. There's always a momentum with how he plays, and it's always fun to see. Um, yeah, just playing with you, Jeremy. There's such a subtle I there's just a subtlety of how you were playing Whitmore. It was always felt very intelligent whenever I felt like each character was kind of like a different genre we were playing through, and yours was very much more contemporary. It's very fitting to the setting. It's very like it's. I mean, the Factotum naturally as a character does this, but even you as a player was very grounding in general. Playing with Doc was like incredibly fun. Bob, there's very like just vivaciousness to how you played Doc throughout the whole campaign. It was very good, and it always felt like you were putting so much of yourself into the character. Not like you yourself as a person, but like just an effort to making to like squeezing the most out of like the moments like you were in. And that's, I mean, always a pleasure to play with you. Um Definitely um like the Between as a game. I mean, you've played it a heck ton, ran it a heck ton, but it really does feel good to be in a game where you know that it's very like it's a game that's very fitting for the person running it. Like it's not like it was just easy for you per se, but like it felt like a very good fit, and that was evident throughout the whole thing. Like you could really play in the space how you wanted to, and it was very cool to see like the proficiency with it. And my usual wish for any like one shot or things where we finish the whole game. I wish to play with you all in the future. Maybe not as a player, but you know, like maybe run a game for you all. Would be super fun still as a wish.
Star to everyone. Paul, you said it best that Daniel brings his own energy, and it was great getting to see that for what we did. I am truly honored to have been his factotum. A star to you, Paul, because you kept Victor in the moment for the entire campaign. I don't think there was you started out needing to kill the beast. So your main driving factor, and you had hopes and aspirations for later. but you always managed to keep the beast and the hunt at the forefront. Victor had a single goal, and you stuck to it. Bob, I'm gonna miss Doc. Of all of the characters, it feels wrong to say that Doc feels like the most. He feels like the most grounded for different genres than just a between game. He feels like he'd fit in a spaghetti western. He'd fit in a Murder in the Orient Express type situation. Doc really feels like as long as the American West exists and he can escape from it, Doc would be there. And you kept that spirit alive. It was great. And Mads, thank you for showing me this fantastic game. I, I, I've got nothing else to add other than thank you. It's been great. And the same wish, Miss Paul, to play with you all again, be it in another campaign, a different setting, another game, a one-shot. You are all a delight. Thank you.
As usual, it's hard to find things to add because the first couple sets of stars are things I would happily co-sign. All statements I would support. And I'll circle back to this with my wish, but I've just had such an amazing time playing with all of you. This group is stupendous, and I don't step outside of some extension of my social circle to game a lot, my like direct here in Tennessee social circle. And this has been, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better experience. I wish I could give people who are thinking about playing tabletop games and like wanting to try it more. If I could get every one of those people into a group like this, I mean, the amount of people in the hobby would just balloon and grow and grow and grow forever. Really, in my opinion, couldn't ask for more. Um, Paul, I mean, I could again say this for pretty for everyone in the group. What a character among characters. Victor was so fun to play with in every scene. You always brought like really good delivery and word play. Um, and it felt like you were really comfortable in Victor's shoes while you were playing. And that you had a lot of ideas about Victor and like had fully realized him. And it kind of lets you kind of, like a quarterback in the pocket, deal really well with situations that put you on your toes. I always felt like you had a good response to all of those kind of um, spur of the moment moments because you really got Victor. And again, just a joy to play alongside and incredible to watch this like cool, a little bit tortured anti-hero monster hunter thing play out on top of the story we were telling as a group, just Victor's individual drive, as mentioned by Jeremy. It was really stupendous. Jeremy Whitmore, you just had so much detail and control and poise in your portrayal of Whitmore, um, that I would find myself like wondering at some moments, like, why didn't I get the script to this scene? Clearly there was one because like you've got a script, right? And I've loved all of the different masks we've all had to do, and I know that's shared. We really love what we think about our own characters. Everyone in the group loves what everyone is thinking about and writing for their characters. But the amount of times that you would do a mask and my jaw would just be on the floor by the end of it. I mean, pretty constantly. Really, really amazing, just raw storytelling there on display. And also, I have to give a star to Daniel, Lord James Campbell Hughes. So happy that he got to play an important part in our finale. Uh, playing with Daniel was like uh tabletop role-playing game across the table from like a steam train is what I can think of. Not that he like knocked everyone out of the scene and took up all the space, but like consistent. He always had really good choices, was always moving the narrative. If we entered a scene where we ended up just kind of being stuck in our own bubble, Daniel always has the like, well, now I want to do this. It's like, oh, you're right. Yeah, we're hunting this monster. We can't just like chit chat and do this bit with in really, really wonderful and eccentric um as I think all of us did in our own way, really got the vibe of the character archetype he was playing. Really lovely. And Mads, again, I couldn't be happier. This has been one of the maybe my favorite story I've gotten to tell with friends. And the amount of times that I would like go meet up with one of my local friends to grab a drink and be like, "Oh my God, let me tell you about this group of people I've just met." And the thing that we decided happened in our, storytelling game this week, you wouldn't believe. Um, yeah, I've just been enthused this whole time. It's not often I step outside of my immediate group, and this couldn't have gone better. To think that I met you when we played like what 8 hours of Trophy Dark on kind of like an open call. I think it was like 2, 3, 4 hour sessions, and now here we are. I'm so bad with time, but it's been like more than a year, right? I forget when we even started, but yeah, I so happy that I signed up for that Trophy Dark game way back when because it really just in pure numbers, it netted me a lot of happiness and I, hope a lot of new friends because my wish is also I really hope to play with y'all again. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, whether it's running something for y'all or getting to be a player or doing some kind of one shot, I would pay for the privilege. And I think any smart person would.
It has been my pleasure and privilege to be your keeper for this campaign. I mean, had some incredibly fun moments, some heartfelt moments, and just moments where I felt like, wow, these guys are really living in their characters. I mean, between Victor's, like, outward, business like huntsmanship, and then, like, underneath the family ties that bind and just twist every once in a while as well. And then Doc with the tall tales and just the gregariousness. I kept on saying a big Labrador that we just love, but I mean, like, underneath there was also some violence stewing and just, again, like, some tortured, worry about their curse. And then Whitmore, just so, as the others have said, grounded, but I mean, like, also very human. Whereas Doc and Victor were very, like, supernaturally inclined. I mean, had that, like, just like OTT of like a power level kind of thing going on. And then Lord James just being like, very rich and very resourceful and powerful. And then there's Whitmore who does the work and won't say anything about himself doing it, but yet also is the one that regular people can relate to and talk to and possibly feel an affinity for. But then also there's a little bit of like past there, painful past, and that has shaped your present. And I love the way you all have developed the characters, like Daniel as well. I didn't know what to expect. I honestly didn't. I have worked with legacies before, I've worked with Americans before, I have seen a Factotum before, but this was the first campaign or one of the first campaigns that I ever had an Explorer. And so I was just like, okay, let's run with it. Let's see what happens. My goodness. Um, and I'm very glad to see it culminate into something wonderful. Even turning him into an NPC at the end, but then still being a very important part of the story. So I just have thanks. I just have thanks for you all. I mean, like, it would be my pleasure, again, to be able to play with you, as a one shot or like in a campaign, some other game, whatever it is, or me being a player in your games. I mean, whatever it is, I like, I really enjoyed this group and I was very glad to play with you all. And hopefully we do it again. I mean, like, there are so many games, unfortunately, so little time, and we have to depend on the scheduling gods to be kind, okay? But that is my wish. I mean, like, I'm hoping that we can play in other games together again. All right? So, I mean, I have not much more than the bursting stars that have already been mentioned. And I enjoyed myself so much being your keeper and being all the side characters that you introduced or wanted to see in action or to interact with. It's been a joy. It has truly been a joy. Thank you all so much. So with that, we close out Darkened Mirrors and yeah. So we meet again. And happy gaming as always. Happy gaming for what you do in the future, okay? Whether it be with me or anybody else. So, enjoy guys. Thank you all so very, very, very much. Bye.